Guys, welcome back. I'm Fallen Stories, and today we're going to look at the r slash am I the asshole subreddits. Am I the asshole for changing my niece's stripper name when I got custody? I think it will become obvious that my sister and I have taken very different paths in life. I love her very much, but she's not well. I've had custody of my niece since she was 6 months old. My sister is going to jail for at least the next 7 years. She's ineligible for parole for that long, so that's the minimum. My niece's name is a perfect example of my sister's thought process. Honest to God, she named her Cinnamon. Pronounces Cinnamon. I have my sister parental rights severed. My parents and her fault me on it. Don't care. My parents have never contributed to her upbringing, but they have given her lots of unwanted advice. I adopted my daughter and changed her name to Simone. My parents think I'm being cruel to my sister. What my sister thinks is not allowed here. The filters told me that particular obscenity was a part of the post here. It starts with a C. Try it yourself if you don't believe me. So I feel completely justified in changing her name. I do not think I'm wrong. I'm not looking for validation. I want to know if I'm missing something that my parents and sister can't communicate coherently. I completely misunderstood the title and thought OP had just found a better stripper name for her niece. Am I the asshole for telling my father in law they won't ever be living with us? Prior to my wife and I trying for our first, we spoke with both sets of parents and said would they have any interest in helping with watching the grandkids until preschool starts. Both were over the moon excited. All four are fully retired, and they all said absolutely. The plan was to trade off weeks so they know their schedule for booking their own appointments, etc. Wife gets pregnant, and around 10 weeks post birth, she's getting ready to transition back to work. And her parents said they've changed their minds and decided to travel more and wanted to enjoy their elder years. Okay. My parents did their absolute best to pick up in-law slack, but daily childcare was too much with my wife and I working full time. So we ended up with my parents watching on Mondays and Wednesdays, paying for childcare on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and my wife and I work half days on Friday to handle that. With my parents taking the Friday whenever we need them to. They're incredible. It was very frustrating to have in-laws say one thing and do the opposite. In 6 years, they have never once watched any of our kids for a single day. So my wife and I bought a house about a week ago. They're over checking it out as we're unboxing, and my father-in-law sees the house has a first floor master with a full bath. He turns to mother-in-law says, "Oh, thank God, we don't have to do the stairs." I said, "Come again?" Mother-in-law says, "Of my wife and her two siblings, we are doing by far the best, and it would make most sense for them to live with us, as they are in their 70s and our house is becoming too much for them already." I audibly laughed hard and loud and said, "Hell would freeze over before you live here," which was met by a shock from both of them. I explained that when we needed their help, they turned their backs, so we were simply doing the same. My wife agreed. She expressed how expensive and how difficult it was with zero help from them. Um, One side of our village. That was their call, but we were now returning the favor. They are incredibly upset and hurt over this revelation. Were we TA for this stance? I don't think so at all, but if the votes are a bloodbath, I'll consider as we have space. Not the asshole. The sheer audacity of not just assuming they could move in, but they get the main bathroom with a full bath. If they can do want to do with a full house, they can buy a condo or something. There are a lot of 55 plus communities popping up everywhere. They spend their retirement funds traveling and enjoying their elder years. Am I the asshole for only doing the bare minimum when I got roped into babysitting? My sister, 38, invited me over for a family meal. Our parents were there too. After dinner, my mom and I helped clean up while my dad and brother in law watched my nieces and nephews. Afterwards, my parents left. Then my sister and brother in law asked me if I could watch the kids for an hour while they went for a quick errand. I agreed. They got very dressed up for errands, but I didn't ask. They've done this before. I didn't usually have anything going on, so I didn't really mind. Today it was clear that I had plans, and 1 hour was my limit. My My sister agreed to 1 hour. After an hour, I called and she didn't answer. Half an hour later, I texted my friends and said I couldn't make it. Then I proceeded to keep the kids alive. I felt I owed her that as family. Did I put them to sleep? No. Did I make them snacks rather than let them use the stove? Yes. Did I keep the little one from drawing on the walls while his older brother played Fortnite and the middle kid watched Stranger Things with me? Nope. I kept them alive. My sister got home a little after 1 a.m. Nephew was still playing Fortnite. Middle kid and I were still binging Stranger Things. Little was passed out on her bed. I got up and left. I've been hearing about it for a few days now, about how irresponsible I am. That 12-year is too young for such a scary show, that my nephew has limited screen time, and that I still haven't got the drawings of the walls. My parents are getting involved as well. I really don't care. I was told 1 hour. I agreed to 1 hour. I feel that I did a great job for 1 hour. Not really my problem after that. So, four people think I'm an asshole. Three kids had a great night. I think they won't try it again. Not the asshole. In fact, so not the asshole that I really don't know how your parents could be getting involved without immediately taking your side. Because sister got her version of the story in first. Am I the asshole because I refused to speak Spanish with a customer after being told it wasn't welcome? I am part owner of a store that sells suits and rents tuxedos. Obviously, we dealt with wedding parties. I was born in Canada, but I'm a native Spanish speaker, since that is all my family spoke at home. I used to also travel to my parents' home country every summer to stay with my grandparents and visit with the rest of the family. I still go to visit, but just for 1 week or two. We had a large wedding party coming in last weekend. They were renting 6 tuxedos and buying 2 suits. The suits were for the father of the bride and her grandfather. I called over one of the assistants to help me with a large group. Our tuxedos are all made to fit a wide variety of bodies and be temporarily altered for a good look. Tammy, my assistant, is awesome and can mark up the alterations no problem. Our suits are for purchase only, and since they can be expensive, I usually take those myself. I noticed that the family was speaking Spanish, and I make it a great point to speak Spanish with clients at the beginning to keep them from trying to be private in a conversation and then embarrassing them when they figure it out. Long experience had taught me that people don't like that. I greeted them all in English and then again in Spanish. I continued in Spanish to ask them what kind of suits they were looking for. A young woman in the group literally sneered at me and said I didn't have to speak Spanish to them because they all spoke English. I've never encountered this attitude before, so I apologized and continued in English only. All was going well until I got to Grandpa. He absolutely did not speak English. I went to the younger woman and asked for her help translating. She was watching her groom getting fitted, so she wasn't busy. She came over and translated everything her grandpa said to me and then back to him. By the end, the old guy looked great in his new suit, and she had completely missed the other fittings. She got mad at me for making her miss out. I reminded her that she told me to only use English. A few days later, she posted a review saying that I was unprofessional and made her translate when I spoke fluent Spanish. I responded with my side and offered to provide a video of telling me to speak English. She removed the review when people started mocking her. She called the store and threatened to cancel the order. I agreed that might be best, and she could bring her receipt in for a full refund. The suits hadn't been altered yet, so some steam would get rid of the chalk marks. No problem. I will call the supplier and cancel the tux order as well. I even offered to refund the deposit on the tuxes. Her mother brought her in. She apologizes for the way she spoke to me and said that she would like to keep the order the way it was. I accepted the apology and told her that I understood that weddings are stressful and such. My brother, who is my partner, said I was a dick for not talking to the old man in Spanish. Not the asshole. My parents are bilingual, but as my dad has gotten older, he's 94 now. He's not so swift in English, but definitely faster to respond when someone speaks to him in Tagalog. Side note, I love that you called this girl's bluff so calmly. I wish I had your pose. The bride embarrassed herself and her party. To be frogged, marched back to apologize by a mother at her age must be mortifying. Maybe she'll be more polite in the future. Opie should do exactly the same in the future. Am I the asshole for refusing to talk to my fiance after she secretly replaced my wedding dress with a cheap copy to save her money? 27 male, 27 female, getting married in February. In our culture, the groom buys the bride's wedding dress and the bride buys the groom's wedding dress. The groom's dress is called a shavani and the bride's one is called lehenga. To keep things fair, the price range for their dress is decided in advance. We're a little sentimental for the wedding clothes, decided to go on a higher end, chose a popular wedding attire brand, did all the shopping together. She picked the lehenga for her choice and I found a marvelous piece of shavani. My choice was a little more expensive than hers, but it was still within the price range we set. Both of us agreed, finalized the clothes. We didn't brought them home immediately because they needed some customizations according to our body measurements. She was supposed to pick my dress up when it's ready after a few days and send it to my home around 1 month before the wedding. I had to do the same thing too, and I did. I received my shavani from her 2 days ago. My whole family was excited and had a close look and multiple trials when I realized that, although it looked very similar, but it's not the dress which I picked. The quality is not up to the mark. Stitching and finishing is nowhere near as good as the one I had seen in the showroom. There was no brand tag behind the color too. At first I assumed that we played by the seller, but I contacted her first, told her everything and my planning of confronting the seller. But she tried to make me believe that's the same, that she checked before sending it to me. Basically, she got kinda restless when I was hellbent on going to the showroom. In the end, she confesses that it's indeed not the same dress, but it's not the seller's mistake. Basically, she picked up a cheaper copy and sent it to me because even though we had set a same price range for our dresses, she presumed that my dress would be less costlier than hers, as a woman's clothes are generally heavier, fancier, and she thought that the shavani I selected was good but not worth that price. I asked her in a lightly pissed tone why she didn't share her views before the purchase. She had no solid answer. Just for clarity, we both earned decent and the price range was mutually fixed. She frequently spends on what I feel are expensive makeup products. I picked up the dress and went to her home, showed her how different it is from the original, how disrespectful and heartbreaking and trust-breaking it is to secretly change her partner's wedding dress just to save some cash. I see no reason other than her being stingy for doing this to me. I was super disappointed, left that dress at her place and came back home. We had no contact since. I believe she's the one very wrong here, so she should reach out to me. My family was initially hurt too, but now they are starting to say to not overreact, as it might come to our wedding. Am I the asshole for still taking my stand? Not the asshole. I think you have some hard decision to make on whether this is someone you want to marry. This 100%. It's something that's meant a lot in your culture, and you went together to pick out what would make each of you happy with love. Then she went behind your back to save some few dollars. It's something that needed to be spoken about first. Is this how she's going to be during marriage? Communication is key for marriage, and you need to make sure you are still okay with her. Yeah, it's a thing that seems petty, but probably only because I don't care at all about clothes. And it's core in sneaky behavior, lying and overriding his will, and decisions without so much as heads up. That's the problem. That's who she is, and this won't be the last time. It's a problem that will need to be resolved, and the question for OP is, does he want to try to resolve it now, pre-marriage, or later when he's fucked? This was the last story, guys. Thank you so much for watching and following. Please subscribe and comment your opinion about all the topics we spoke today. Alright, thank you so much. Bye bye.